Hey Reddit, I never thought I'd be the guy writing one of these posts. But here we are. I, 34M, have been married to my wife, 32F, for almost 7 years, together for 10. We were that couple everyone thought was perfect. We had inside jokes, we'd host game nights, we planned little weekend getaways. I honestly thought I'd hit the jackpot. The first signs of trouble seemed so small I brushed them off. She started staying late at work more often. End of quarter reports, team meetings that ran long, all the usual excuses. Then it was the phone. She used to leave it lying around anywhere, but suddenly it was glued to her. Face down on the counter, always on silent, always in her pocket. I told myself not to be paranoid. We'd been through tough patches before, and she could be snappy when stressed. But she'd started making these little digs at me, too. Like, if I offered to help with laundry, she'd roll her eyes and say, "You'd probably shrink everything anyway." Small, bitchy comments that chipped away at me. Still, I convinced myself it was just stress or hormones or whatever excuse I could think of. Looking back now, that was the slow unraveling. The moment things started to really click in my head was one random Tuesday night. She said she was working late again, so I made dinner and waited. By 9:30 p.m., she still wasn't home. I texted her, no reply. Called twice straight to voicemail. At 10:15, she walks through the door all flustered, hair a little messy, smelling faintly of some perfume she doesn't wear. Definitely not hers. I asked where she'd been, and she gave me this exaggerated sigh and said, "Babe, I told you I had to go over budget numbers with my boss. Don't you trust me?" The way she snapped it out felt rehearsed, like she'd been practicing the line. Then she went straight to the shower without even touching the dinner I'd saved for her. I sat there at the table, staring at her half-empty wine glass from the night before, trying to push away this knot in my gut. That was the first time I thought, she might not just be working late. About a week later, I got the proof that slapped me across the face. She left her phone charging in the kitchen while she was in the shower. Normally, I wouldn't snoop. I've always believed trust is everything. But the phone buzzed, and the name that flashed across the screen wasn't anyone I recognized. Just D. The message preview read, "Last night was amazing. Can't stop thinking about you." My stomach dropped. I froze. For a solid minute, I debated whether to open the phone fully or pretend I hadn't seen it. But my hands moved before my brain did. I unlocked it. She never changed her password, which almost felt insulting in hindsight, and there it was. Thread after thread of flirty sexual messages, plans to meet up, inside jokes, complaints about me. I remember one line exactly. "He's so clueless. I can't believe he hasn't figured it out." It felt like someone had poured ice water down my spine. My ears were ringing, my chest was tight, and I swear for a moment I couldn't breathe. I just put the phone back, sat at the table, and stared at nothing. By the time she came out of the shower, I was acting normal because I didn't even know how to process it yet. I couldn't hold it in more than 24 hours. The next evening, she came home all chipper, like nothing was wrong. She plopped down on the couch scrolling through her phone, and I just snapped. I said, "So, who's D?" Her face froze for half a second. So quick that if I hadn't been staring, I might have missed it. Then she rolled her eyes and scoffed. "Oh my God. You're seriously going through my phone now? D is just someone from work. We're collaborating on a project. Don't be so paranoid." I told her I'd seen the messages. That's when the bitchicide came out full force. She stood up, hands on hips, and said, "Wow, snooping and twisting things. Those were jokes, inside jokes you wouldn't understand. You're always so insecure." I called her bluff. I read back one of the messages. "Last night was amazing. Can't stop thinking about you." She didn't even flinch. She just shrugged and said, "We went out for drinks after work. Normal adult fun. Not everything is some big conspiracy." The gaslighting was so thick I almost started doubting myself, even with the proof burned into my brain. But deep down, I knew. I'd seen the way her face fell when I first asked. I didn't let it drop. I pressed her. "If it's just drinks, why does he say last night was amazing? Why are you deleting messages?" She went from defensive to hostile in seconds. You're reading into everything. God, you're so controlling. Maybe if you weren't so boring at home, I wouldn't need to go out for fun once in a while. That line hit me like a punch. Boring? I cook, I clean, I work full-time, I plan date nights she cancels. And now I'm the boring one? She must have seen my face because she pivoted again. Suddenly, she was soft-voiced, almost teary. Look, it was just flirting. I got carried away. It didn't mean anything. Okay? Can't you just drop it? But then, because apparently the universe wanted to mess with her, her phone buzzed right there on the coffee table. Another message from D. Same place tomorrow? Can't wait to taste you again. Her face went white. She snatched the phone and screamed, Stop looking at my private conversations. Like I was the criminal here. That was the moment I knew the web of lies was about to cave in. I lost it. All the restraint I'd been clinging to cracked right then. I said, Private conversations? He literally just texted that he can't wait to taste you again. Do you think I'm stupid? She started pacing, throwing her hands in the air, muttering things like, This is so unfair, and you're twisting everything. Then, when I wouldn't back down, she snapped, Fine. Yes. Okay. We hooked up. Are you happy now? Happy? My whole world collapsed in that second. My knees actually felt weak, like something out of a bad drama. I asked her how long. She hesitated, then said, Only a couple weeks. I didn't believe her. Something in her eyes said it had been going on much longer. When I pushed, she exploded. Does it even matter? You were never enough for me. He makes me feel alive, not like I'm married to some roommate who just pays bills and nags me about dinner. That was the dagger. Not even the cheating. It was how casually cruel she was. Like cutting me down would make her affair more justified. At that point, I realized I wasn't talking to my wife anymore. I was talking to a stranger wearing her face. After her outburst, the house went dead silent. She stormed off to the bedroom, slamming the door so hard a picture frame rattled off the wall. I just sat there on the couch, staring at nothing, hands shaking. A few minutes later, I heard drawers opening and closing. She came out with a bag half-packed and said, I'm staying at a friend's. You need to cool off. Like I was the one who'd messed up. I asked her point blank, Are you going to him? She sneered and said, You don't get to interrogate me anymore. That cut deeper than I expected. It was like she was saying the marriage was already dead and buried, and I was the only one still standing at the grave. When the door shut behind her, I just broke. Full-on ugly crying, the kind I hadn't done since I was a kid. Felt like my chest was caving in. Every memory, our wedding day, vacations, lazy Sundays, flashed through my head like a cruel montage. I barely slept that night. Every sound made me think she'd come back. Spoiler, she didn't. The next few days were brutal. I went through the motions of work, but honestly, I was a ghost. Couldn't eat, couldn't focus. Every time my phone buzzed, I hoped it was her saying she wanted to talk, but it was just spam emails or coworkers. She didn't come home. She didn't even text. By day 3, I caved and messaged her, Are we going to talk about this? She replied hours later with a cold, Not ready yet. Give me space. Meanwhile, mutual friends started reaching out. Apparently, she'd already spun some story about how I was controlling and smothering her. And she just needed a break to figure things out. Classic. She's out there painting me as the bad guy while sneaking off to her affair partner. The weirdest part? I kept second-guessing myself. Like, was I too boring? Did I work too much? Was there some version of me that could have prevented this? It's insane how quickly betrayal rewires your brain into thinking it's your fault. But every time those doubts crept in, I pictured that text, Can't wait to taste you again. And I remembered this wasn't on me. Still, the silence was torture. About a week later, I got the confirmation I didn't even want. She left her laptop at home before rushing out to grab coffee with a friend. I wasn't planning to check it, but the damn thing pinged with a calendar reminder. It read, Hotel, 2 p.m. with D. The heart emoji gutted me. She hadn't even bothered hiding it deep. Just slapped it right there in her work calendar like a dentist appointment. Out of morbid curiosity and maybe self-destruction, I opened her email. Boom. Receipts. Hotel confirmations. Uber rides. Even a Sephora order titled, Date Night Kit. So much for her, it was just flirting story. When she came home that night, she acted like nothing was wrong. Sat on the couch scrolling TikTok, laughing, while I was sitting across the room knowing she'd spent the afternoon in some hotel with him. I couldn't even look at her without feeling nauseous. The craziest part? She caught me staring and snapped. What? Why are you looking at me like that? You're so weird lately. Like, yeah, sorry, I'm not exactly cheery while you're screwing someone else during your lunch breaks. That was the moment I realized her lies weren't unraveling. She just didn't care if I believed them anymore. I couldn't hold it in anymore. That night, I put her laptop down on the table and opened it to the hotel reservation, front and center. When she walked by, I just said, "Explain this." She froze for half a second, then laughed, like I was some clueless idiot. "Oh my God, you went through my laptop now? You're obsessed with trying to catch me doing something wrong." I didn't even let her spin. I pointed at the screen, Hotel, 2 p.m., D, with a heart emoji. "Are you seriously going to tell me this is just work?" That's when she dropped the mask. She rolled her eyes and snapped, "Fine. Yes, I've been seeing him. Yes, it's been going on longer than I said. And honestly, I don't feel bad. You don't excite me anymore. He does." It was like she wanted to hurt me as much as possible. I asked her, "Why marry me then? Why promise me forever if this is who you are?" She shot back, "Because I thought you'd change. But you didn't. And he gives me what you can't." I swear my hands were shaking so bad I had to grip the table to stay steady. For the first time, I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just told her, "Get out." She smirked, grabbed her bag and said, "Gladly. I already have somewhere better to be." And then she walked out. No hesitation. After she left, I collapsed on the couch. Not crying at first, just numb. Like my emotions had been vacuumed out of me. I stared at the empty doorway for hours, every shadow feeling like her stepping back inside. When the tears came, they hit hard. Ugly, guttural crying, the kind that shakes your whole body. Couldn't eat, barely slept. Every little sound made me jump, thinking it was her. Even though I knew she was gone, I kept replaying the last few weeks in my head. The sudden late nights, the bitcha digs, the casual lies. Every little thing that used to seem annoying suddenly screamed betrayal. I realized she'd been lying so convincingly that I almost blamed myself for her affair. I was angry, broken, and deeply, deeply sad all at once. I felt betrayed in a way I didn't think was possible from someone I trusted completely. Friends tried to reach out, but I mostly just ignored everyone. I needed space to process that my marriage, my home, my sense of safety, everything had been shattered. It was the first time I truly understood how someone could feel completely invisible while living in the same house as a person. After a week of emotional chaos, I realized I couldn't stay in that state forever. I started small, sleeping in the guest room so I didn't feel trapped, making sure the house didn't feel like a shrine to her absence. I deleted all her contact info from my phone and logged out of every shared account we had. I also started talking to a therapist. At first, it felt pointless. I kept just repeating the same story over and over, but slowly, I began to untangle my emotions. I realized her betrayal wasn't my fault. I wasn't boring, controlling, or inadequate. She was selfish, dishonest, and had no respect for the life we built. I started leaning on friends more, even though it was awkward at first. One friend helped me move her stuff into storage, and every item packed felt like reclaiming a piece of my own life. I didn't feel better yet, more like slightly less paralyzed. But for the first time, I knew I could survive this. That was a turning point. After a few weeks of reflection, I had to make a choice. Try to salvage a marriage with someone who had no respect for me, or cut my losses and move on. I thought about counseling, about giving her a chance to explain herself, but every memory of her lies and the casual cruelty came flooding back. I realized I didn't want a marriage built on deception, excuses, and gaslighting. I wanted honesty, trust, and respect, and she had shown me clearly that she was incapable of that. So I made the call. I filed for separation, not out of anger, not out of revenge, but out of self-preservation. I had to protect my mental health, my dignity, and my sense of reality. It hurt like hell. Walking away from someone you thought was your forever is like ripping out a piece of your own soul. But I knew staying would have meant a life filled with betrayal, doubt, and resentment. The first few months were rough. Every little thing reminded me of her, our favorite coffee shop, the route we drove on weekends, even songs we used to play in the car. But slowly, life started to feel like it belonged to me again. I picked up old hobbies I had abandoned, reconnected with friends I hadn't seen in years, and focused on work projects that actually excited me. Each small victory, cooking a meal just for myself, laughing at a joke without thinking of her, sleeping through the night, felt like reclaiming a part of me she had tried to steal. Therapy helped me untangle the guilt and the what-ifs, and eventually, I started to forgive myself for being blindsided. Not her for what she did, but myself, for thinking someone so dishonest could ever be trusted fully. I also learned the importance of boundaries. I set clear limits with her and anyone else who might try to manipulate or gaslight me. It felt empowering, like I was finally taking control of my own story instead of letting her dictate it. Life didn't magically fix itself, but it slowly started to feel mine again. Looking back, I can honestly say this experience shattered me and rebuilt me in a strange way. I learned that betrayal isn't just about the act itself. It's about how it reshapes your sense of trust, self-worth, and reality. One of the hardest lessons was accepting that some people won't change, no matter how much love or effort you put in. My wife wasn't just unfaithful. She was dishonest, manipulative, and cruel. And loving someone doesn't mean tolerating that kind of treatment. If I could give advice to anyone going through something similar, trust your gut. Small red flags matter, they rarely appear out of nowhere. Document and confirm. Evidence protects you from gaslighting and helps you make decisions with clarity. Seek support. Friends, family, therapists, don't isolate yourself. You need people who will see the truth with you. Prioritize yourself. It's okay to walk away from someone you once loved if staying hurts more than leaving. Give yourself time. Healing isn't linear. Some days will be better, some worse, but it does get easier. In the end, I survived. I'm rebuilding my life, my trust in myself, and my boundaries. And while I'll always carry scars, they're reminders of resilience, not weakness.